Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning, dear friends. Oh my goodness. I am beginning to look a bit primitive, am I not? I do keep the beard trimmed, but obviously I have not been able to get a haircut for a very long time. I'm not really all that interested in sitting in my car wearing a mask, waiting for somebody to come escort me in, spray me down, take my temperature, put me in a chair, you know, just to get a haircut. Not worth it. So we'll just have to wait. So good morning, everyone. At least it is morning here. It is morning here in northern New Mexico. I was out at this park the other day, but because it gets so hot here, the computer overheated. So today instead, I've decided I'm here in the park, but I'm in a nice little area under the trees where it should remain cool enough for my computer to continue to work until we are finished. So hello to everyone as you are joining. Please say hello where you are dialing in from, and especially if this is the first time you've ever experienced one of these meditations. This is that's always very nice for me to know, because it really helps me if there's brand new people who've never done one of my meditations, and some who've never done a meditation at all, just kind of ran across this. This is a great way to be introduced to the whole practice. So I called this morning's little soiree Natural Stillness. And it just came to mind because it's funny, even after all these years, every now and then I run into a part of me that is still seeking, right? Still trying to get something. That part of every human being that feels incomplete and wants something is very alive in all of us. And it can take some time for that to really settle in to the natural wholeness, the natural completeness, which is actually your birthright. And what you find when you allow yourself through meditation or through inquiry to discover that place within you that is absolutely still, you find the place of completeness. And it is a natural place. Our natural state is stillness. The unnatural state is actually all of the activity and distraction and that sense of not having enough or needing something, or even spiritual seeking. All of that arises out of our identification, going back to our earliest childhood, with what in fact is nothing but psychological and emotional conditioning. You're not your conditioning. That, to realize that one thing will make everything in your life different. Because we tend to think that these habitual patterns that we have acquired, no matter what they might be, thought patterns, emotional patterns, reactive patterns, whatever they might be, we think of them as ourselves, as this is me, this is what I'm like, rather than learned behavior. Behavior that is learned, by the way, not by you. It's not like, learning a skill in school or, learning some numbers and or the like. It's just the natural way the nervous system adapts itself to the environment. In that adaptation, it finds all the ways that work within that environment, gets rid of all the ways that don't work, solidifies that into automatic behavior, and later, as a sense of identity develops, we think that's who I am. When in fact, it's only the container you've been put in and adapted to and conformed to, and wrongly began to think that that's actually who I am. Who you really are is this infinite potential, infinite stillness, infinite love. And I mean infinite. It's not just a nice idea, right? This is what in Buddhism is referred to as emptiness. You're not anything in particular. Now, it's hard for us to think. Well, it's actually impossible for us to think in those terms, because the mind makes up a word like infinite, but has no real experience of it. It's just a word. It's a concept. It's big, really, really big, right? But infinite isn't big. It has no space, like timelessness. Eternity is infinite time, but the reality is timeless. There is no time. There is no space. There's no dimensions. There's only here and there's only now. And that here and now is not a place that you occupy. The here and now is you. You are that which is even aware of the here and now. Isn't that right? So if you're aware of the here and now, what does that make you? Even greater, even deeper, even more. So the natural stillness I'm referring to is your natural emptiness. To the mind, to the way we normally think of things, and a lot of people think of emptiness as nothingness, void. My life is empty, which means it doesn't have a lot of fun or excitement or great stuff in it. But that's not at all the kind of emptiness we're talking about here. The Sanskrit word for emptiness is shunyata, which is a beautiful word because literally it means a pregnant emptiness. Think of infinite potential. In infinite potential, anything can happen. Anything can come to be. But in its potential form, nothing has. So it would look like nothing, wouldn't it? It would look like nothing, void, as empty as, the great void. But in fact, it's pregnant with potential. What is it that brings something from pure potential into its manifestation? Attention, nothing more. Perception. Our perceptions are not simply us reacting to or seeing what already exists. Our perceptions actually create what we experience. They're not separate, but that's a whole other subject. That's a whole other subject to get into. So for right now, let's just go and explore this place of inner stillness. And especially right now, the world is in a rather unstable and it can even feel very threatening with the pandemic and economic stuff and political stuff and social unrest, all of which is legitimate, by the way. The problem isn't that there's unrest. The problem is that we have outgrown our political, economic, and social systems. Our consciousness has exceeded it. We don't wear those size clothes anymore, right? We have totally outgrown it, but they've not kept up. They're trying to force us back into these old patterns and institutions that are just failing left and right. So that can leave us feeling anything but, calm and still and peaceful. Right? And in fact, if we look externally to ourselves in order to find peace and stillness, we'll never find it because there's none out here. The nature of the manifest world is that it is in constant flux. That's the only way it can be, right? Something being solid is an illusion. It is actually very tiny things whizzing around so quickly that it gives the illusion of something solid. But nothing is. Nothing is static. Nothing is actually a thing. But again, I'm digressing. Let's go back to the place in you that is completely equanimous, completely imperturbable, and is already at peace, even in the midst of what would appear to be chaos going on all around you. So close your eyes. And start taking a couple of nice, conscious, deep, slow breaths. If any of you are new to meditation, this is a great, great place to start. Closing your eyes and letting your attention, instead of focusing on this all sorts of activity out there through the eyes, narrow that focus down to simply this most natural, ongoing, completely automatic capacity that we have to simply breathe. And every breath is necessary. You're just letting it slow down, letting attention come into the body, which is really the first step through the body, beyond the body, to yourself. The consciousness that animates the body, but is not contained by it or limited by it. And notice that as the attention simply withdraws just to the breath, things begin to slow down. Thoughts begin to slow down, quiet. The body begins to calm down. Simply because it's always wanting to interact with the environment. Well, now you are the environment. You're determining where the attention is going to go. And right now it's just resting in this, just watching the body do what it does. Starting with the breath, and just let attention kind of fan out and take in everything. Take in your whole chest and back, your shoulders, your arms, your abdomen, your pelvis, your legs. And notice that when you're just sensing the body like an energy field, that you can even feel the ground. You can feel the energy solid underneath you. Maybe even feel the room around you. Or if you're outside, like the trees. You don't need to see them. You can just kind of sense them. So the body is just a modulation or a vibration in the overall energy field. Not disconnected from what's around it. And again, as attention anchors itself more in the body, again, it gets quieter. It's a very natural thing. And notice that you're also aware of the body. There's this other very subtle presence there that's aware of the body. It's aware of that energy field. And that energy field of the body takes a lot of forms. It can seem to be very solid and physical, like a tree or a rock. It can also seem very ephemeral, like air and water. It takes the form of your own sensations, just the sense of having this presence of the body and the world of which it is an integral part. That same energy field becomes even more subtle in your emotions, which is part of the continuum of the overall energy field. And even more subtle and more fleeting are thoughts. Sure, as we've been meditating, thoughts have been coming and going, but just notice that they do come and go. And if you don't engage with them or follow their story, they fade very quickly. So just notice that there's something that's very real that is aware of all the sensation, the entire energy field, emotion, thought. And while all of that is very quickly fleeting, coming and going, flowing like water, this awareness of them isn't moving. And who is this awareness of them? Is that somebody different from you? Or is that you? The you that is aware of everything else. I sometimes call this the light at the center, but it's just you. And notice while you're aware of the activity of sensation and emotion and thought, all of the different vibrations of the energy field, while they're constantly moving, you're constantly still. This is your natural stillness. This is your nature. It is not a state you get into. It is you. It is your very nature. Stillness is what you are. Activity and energy and flow is what you, stillness, experience. And it makes sense. If you're going to hear music, there has to be a silent background, because if it's a noisy background, you can't hear it. If you're going to see color, there must be a dark background against which it can be seen. A diamond laying in a pile of rubble may not be noticed, but take it and put it on a black velvet piece of padding, and suddenly its beauty begins to stand out. Without you as this silent, still background, there couldn't be any experience. Music requires silence, light requires dark. The energy field of manifestation requires the natural stillness of being. And I want you to just notice that this natural stillness is where you are looking from. You're not looking at it, you're looking from it. You can't experience stillness. You can't experience silence. There's nothing there to experience. So how do you know it? You know it because you are it. And when I say things like that, I know that the mind will begin to wobble a bit. Remember, mind, thought, only exists in the realm of form and manifestation. It cannot conceive of emptiness, because emptiness isn't a concept. It cannot conceive of oneness. It is a one without a second. It always requires multiple, at least two. But stillness and you are not two. And just notice, no matter how disturbed you may seem, no matter how much activity is going on, the only way you can detect this activity is from this place of natural stillness. That's the home you never leave. That's what Christ referred to as the kingdom of heaven. Pure, harmonious stillness. So still that not even space and time can touch it. It's beyond all opposites. But it is not a thing you experience. It is simply the very nature of being. As we begin to come out of this meditation, let me remind you that you're not going anywhere. You're not coming out of anything. You are simply letting your attention turn from focusing deep within you to just turn around and once again take in all the activity and energy and variation and diversity of the manifest world. But you never, ever actually leave here. You can't leave here. You can't be anything other than what you are. And that stillness is what you are. So take another deep breath. And try to slowly turn your attention back outward. And open your eyes. So hello, everyone. Hello, I'm here in Boulder. not that far from me now. Hello, Robbie. Robbie is in, I think I saw further on, he said he's in Romania. Yeah, Romania. Wonderful. Ava, namaste. Hello. Greetings from Poland to you. Hi, Ava. Brian in Virginia, sunny and hot. Same here in New Mexico. Cheryl in Pennsylvania. Encoded Frequency. Morning to you. That's a great name. Tatiana, good to see you. There in Toronto. Dorothy in Denmark. Maribeth in Southern California. Tatiana says, how is our body a part of here and now? Did that question get answered during the meditation, Tatiana? If not, I'll happy to go into it a little bit more. I'll go into it anyway. Everything's experienced where? Do you ever experience the past or the future? Yeah. The body is simply a particular energy vibration in a field of potential. It is not separate from it. It is not a discrete object walking through it. It is, in fact, completely integrated into it. The very fact that we breathe indicates that I'm not separate from this environment. The fact that I have to eat, right? And shows that there's this cycle, there's this constant flow of energy going on, and the human body is simply a particular transient, temporary energy form, right? It lasts, not as long as a tree, but, longer than a bug or longer than my kombucha. So everything is in the here and now. Right? There's no such thing that isn't here and now, because the here and now is all there is. So the body is not a thing, right? It is constantly being refreshed. Creation is not the idea that there was a God. Nothing was there except God. He got a bit bored after eternity, after God knows how many billions or trillions of years. So I think I'm going to make something, makes a creation, and then stand back and look at it. That's the model we have. It's very primitive, and it's based in time and all of that. The reality of creation is that it is constantly happening. When you're watching a movie, be it on a computer screen or on a movie screen, what you are seeing is a series of images going so fast that it looks like there's something actually there. That's what creation is like. It is happening. Creation is just happening continuously, right? I mean, timelessly, basically. And so this moment, right, is constantly recreating itself. It is not, this is the moment of enlightenment for Siddhartha when he became the Buddha is when he saw there is no cause or effect. The chain of causation was broken for him. Nothing is caused. Everything is a projection of the mind. So nothing exists independently of this moment, right? The tree you were looking at 2 minutes ago is not here anymore. It's gone. It never existed, actually. This moment is all that exists. Did I go too far with this, guys? Sorry. Sorry. If you think about the body and forms and all of this stuff as a thing moving through time, you'll be confused as to how this has to do with the here and now. But when you realize the here and now is all there is, and what you regards as a form moving through time is something that is being constantly regenerated and eventually won't be, right? And you'll see that everything exists in this timeless now. Hopefully I didn't go too far for you guys. Rosario says, hello, everyone from Spain. John says, GP was about to tell us how to fly. Yeah, it's my secret. Going to have to sign up for my $197 course, How to Fly. But that's only the intro. It's actually 23 levels. Scientology, I'll get your entire life savings before you get anything out of it. Ella, hello, Ella in Sweden. Sandeep, names. Oops, names. Oh, namaste, everyone. Yeah, names, yes, autocorrect. Has a hard time with namaste. P.S. Good morning, good evening. Hello to you. Is it evening where you are? I get out here pretty early. Nice to see you. To Ella from Ava. Carl, Lucy, hi GB. Lovely meditation. Thank you. Is the stillness neutral? I can feel blissed sometimes in meditation. I think I experienced the stillness you speak of, yet it seems boring to me. Well, you have enough to not be bored. No, boredom is an aspect of the mind, and is simply the mind discontent with the moment. The mind wants something, right? It cannot deal with pure stillness. So stillness is boring to the mind. Meditation is boring to the mind. There has to be something there, right? So what the mind seeks, and what most spiritual people and practices seek in meditation, is a blissful state. But any state that comes is going to have to go, right? Simply the way it is. Thank God, because if it was pain, we certainly hope it's going to go, right? We don't want that to be permanent, yet we want to cling to these other feelings. Well, you can't, right? So there can't be boredom in stillness. In order for there to be boredom, there has to be an anticipation of something else. In other words, the mind has to invent a better future and then want it, right? And say, this moment isn't okay. And that statement, this moment is not okay as it is the cause of suffering. And by suffering, I don't mean misery. When Buddha used the word suffering, he simply was referring to discontent. Something's not right, and everyone feels it. It's inherent in the nature of the thinking of ourselves as a separate self. It's just inevitable that there will be discontent, because discontent is the nature of the egoic mind. Right? So explore that. Notice when you're there in that stillness, and the feeling of boredom comes up. Notice it. Sit with it. Look at it. You'll find it is simply an energy pattern that has arisen. And if you identify with it, you grab it, you've got Velcro, it's got Velcro, it sticks. Suddenly you're going to think something's wrong with right now. And you've just created suffering. You've created suffering where there isn't any, right? So just notice it. Stillness is absolutely still, right? There's neither bliss nor misery. There's nor ecstasy or agony, right? It is absolutely still. Now, that doesn't mean you don't experience those things, but you're not what you experience. The stillness is what you are. But within all of us, the reason why there is reincarnation and you have lifetime for lifetime after lifetime is because there's this very subtle desire for experience. When that is not there, karma ends. Now experience can come and go. It's not like experience ends, but there's no more seeking of experience. And you simply go into this eternal stillness that is there simultaneously with all the incredible diversity of experience. And that's the genuine non-duality. It isn't there's stillness and nothing else, right? It is, they are one. You can't have one without the other. What you are is the stillness. What you experience is the manifest universe. The sense I am creates a universe. But the sense I am can only arise when you are. And that pure isness, that pure beingness is utterly still. I just am. P.S. You're in Germany. Okay, so it is later there. Yeah. Tatjana, thank you for answering my question. Yes, you go very far, and it wakes up a desire to experience, to open up to that possibility. Sarah in France. Hi, Sarah. Good to see you. Okay, John. Yeah, I wanted to ask about that someday, GP. How come in non-duality they say there is no cause and effect, and that everything is predestined? No, those two ideas are contradictory. Yes, they absolutely good. I'm glad you saw that. Cause and effect, predestination, same thing, right? They're just everything is predestined. Neither of that's true. Neither of that is true. What makes something make manifest? I think the best explanation I've found for it is when you listen to a really good like jazz player, because I always use jazz because the heart and soul of jazz is improvisation, right? There's a very there's a melody, there's some it's got a container, but it's all happening spontaneously, right? There's no cause and effect, right? When that guy's playing, he's not playing this note because that note came before that. That's gone. It's a spontaneous arising, right? A melody appears, right? A harmony appears, a variation appears, right? And it's constantly happening. It's not predestined, right? If you're playing a classical piece, you could say it's predestined. I know I'm going to get to the coda, right? Right. But in improvisation, it isn't. And look at your day. It's more improvisation than it is predestined. Things are constantly coming at you that you have to respond to, right? So there's this dance that's going on, right? And you could say that this is cause and effect. There's this, but cause and effect, it kind of implies that this cause brings about that effect, and it's not necessarily so. Right? And you think, so why did that person turn right instead of left? Right? Cause and effect, right? To a certain extent, if when you're stuck in your conditioned patterns, you can pretty much predict cause and effect. It isn't really cause and effect. It is simply a pre-programmed response to experience. So you can predict it as they're going to do this, they're going to do that. That event caused this. No, it didn't. The event happened, and there's a programmed response that made this reaction to it, right? But there's nothing in any event that inherently mandates a particular effect, right? So it's far more subtle and far more interesting than our reduction of it to this linear thing, right? When Nisargadatta was asked that question, he said, everything causes everything. I mean, really, if you look at cause and effect, you have to explode it to the infinite. Why did this moment happen the way it is? Well, again, Nisargadatta said, because the universe is the way it is, right? This moment right now that we're having, right? If I hadn't lived every detail of my life, which means my parents and everything, you can just see this incredible line of multifarious, multidimensional causes that made my birth, my upbringing, my experiences, my stuff, all this stuff, so that I'm sitting here with these thoughts right in this moment to speak simultaneously. All these people were born. The earth happened to have these kind of metals and these kinds of things that we made silicon, and all of a sudden, I mean, look at the sheer amount of stuff that had to happen for this moment. And you realize cause and effect is the mind trying to reduce infinite cause and infinite effect into this nice little linear thing that it can trace, right? because it can't conceive of infinite cause and infinite effect, right? Because it comes down to no cause and no effect. It's just this explosion in the moment, right? So you could think of it in either way, and both the infinite. It all comes to a zero sum. It comes down to this inconceivable happening. This moment is happening, and it is completely unpredictable. You can't say you either say there's no cause, or you say everything caused it. Take your pick. So the idea, yes, and there's no predestination. That's nonsense. That's nonsense, especially when you realize that you are that stillness, when you are pure consciousness. You're not subject to any of these laws. You're outside of cause and effect. Consciousness was not caused. It just is. It doesn't have a beginning, right? Therefore, it has no cause. Right? And it is one with everything. So it isn't having an effect. It is simply experiencing itself. Hopefully I didn't go too far again. Thanks, John. J. IG, when the attention is on thoughts, is the very is on thoughts. When the attention is on thoughts, is that very recognition of self-inquiry. When you're in the midst of doing something and you experience some intense feelings, do you back up and continue into those feelings? Well, again, I don't like to turn anything into this you must do. My mission is to make this so fascinating and interesting to you that you just will, right? And of course, when that desire, when the taste for the potential of infinite freedom begins to dawn, and your mouth starts to water for it, then you will. An intense feeling comes up, and you go, and you'll just feel the entire environment of it. An intense feeling, you'll feel resistance to it. You'll feel like you want to get away from it. You'll feel overwhelmed. You'll see the entire matrix of experience that goes with it. Now, if you can actually stop for a moment and notice that entire experience, the very act of noticing it is stepping into a deeper level of consciousness, isn't it? Because you're not in it. You're standing aloof from it, looking at it. Now, that very action itself is an inquiry. It's like, well, what then is this? Before, it just happened. I'm in the middle of it. I'm identified with it. I'm reacting to it. All of a sudden, now I'm standing here. Okay. Who is standing there? Who am I? This is what I'm experiencing. Who am I? Try to turn. You won't be able to find the you as an experience. You'll only find yourself as a presence. So don't turn it into a practice, please, right? Because practice will be vigilant for a while, then we'll get bored, and then it becomes discipline, then it becomes heavy. I'm more interested in you being really curious about it. Saying, well, what is this stuff? What's actually happening here? How in the world did this happen? Where is this coming from? And just this most wonderful opportunity to break down your assumptions and discover the innate wisdom and infinite knowledge that you have right at the heart of you. The understanding of the entire universe is open to you, not because you have to study and get a bunch of letters after your name, but because you are that. You're only studying yourself. To know yourself is to know everything. So, John, in philosophy, determinism is explained in the light of cause and effect. Yes. And to the materialistic mind, to materialistic science, that's all there is. Right? But even they recognize it's just where's the real cause coming from? Right? The molecules are caused by the behavior of atoms, which are caused by the behavior of electrons. On and on down the line, trying to find that which actually is, right? The first cause, the logos, the first principle, right? The thing that went, that hit that first billiard board ball that started bouncing all over the place. Right? There is no first. It's timeless. Right? The only thing you could say of first, the first principle, is you, consciousness, cause and effect. Inquire into those feelings. No, I saw the inquire into the feelings. Basically, it's determined exactly because of cause and effect. Yes, that is the way it is looked at. Materialistic science falls apart without cause and effect. Everything is cause and effect. And then an attempt to control the cause to bring about the effect that you want, which is the system that we have, which of course we can't. We would have to understand infinite complexity to do that. So we think we understand, and so we start, GMOs, we start manipulating things because we can only see them isolated here. We can't see the whole matrix in which they fit. You can't do it. We wouldn't be able to manipulate things, which we shouldn't be, but we are, right? And so we end up with these horrible things, right? So we have, atomic energy and an enormous amount of absolutely really indisposable waste as a consequence of it, because we don't understand the whole matrix, right? We don't want to understand the whole matrix. We're driven to just this little bit to get a particular result so I can pat myself on the back and make a lot of money. And I don't even think about the consequences. They call that externalized consequences. I think that's yeah. I mean, if every company that made a product actually had to look, the efficiency of that product wasn't just, how cheaply they could make it, but it was the entire chain, all the way from its origin somewhere in the earth, the production process, to where everything, when it's used up, it has to go back to the earth. It looked at the entire chain of it, right? We live in a very different world. But no, they don't. Just this. I get from this, I get rid of that once it's not my problem. Got to go in the dump, not my problem. Destroying the earth to get the resources, not my problem, right? Right? And it isn't their problem. That's why we're in Afghanistan. $1 trillion worth of some mineral. It has nothing to do with terrorism. There's $1 trillion worth of a mineral needed in developing computers. No thought of the consequences of extracting that. Right? That's what you get with materialistic cause and effect. Materialism leads to greed and capitalism and all sorts of other things, but I won't go there right now. Anyway, good evening, Vanyashi. Good to see you. This is great. Let's see. Ava, my great request to you. Send your email concerning materials of energy techniques and videos I have not downloaded. I do hope you get. Oh, yeah. All of the inner reconciliation, the energy techniques workshop should be on the new platform, and you should be able to have access to it. But I'll check, or I'll have Alicia check, Ava. Thank you. Hello, Alessandra in Monterey. Tomas in Czechia. Is that Czechia? Is that Czechoslovakia? Just the way it's actually said, or is that someplace else? Sorry, but hello, Tomas. Good to have you. Truth Loops. Love that name. Eva, thank you for the great explanation to Jay Pillai concerning the story about cause and effect made by the mind. Beautiful and illuminating. Yeah, thank you. Yash Sawa. Hello, sir, ma'am. Can't see the picture. Hello, GP. Since a few months, I've been noticing using social media and actually watching news causes an unrest or discomfort in me internally. Disturbs my mental peace. Yes, so don't do it. Remember now, social media and the news, it isn't news anymore. When I was growing up, there was the news, and then there was the opinion. Every newspaper had its editorial or opinion page. It was really clear. And if you looked at the news, I grew up in Chicago, and there was the Chicago Sun-Times and the Chicago Tribune. Sun-Times was liberal, Democrat. The Tribune was very conservative, Republican. If you looked at the news stories, they were very similar because the news was reported as news. But then you go to the editorial page and argument, all sorts of. Well, that doesn't exist anymore. The news now is all opinion. It's all propaganda. It's all owned by I think there's 6 companies that control 95% of the media outlets. They have very strict policies about what's going to be on there and what isn't. They're all more interested in their stock prices than anything else. So the news is designed to disturb you, to divide you, to make you feel afraid. So it isn't news. And I'm afraid there really isn't many places you can get it. The NPR, the BBC, they're all corrupt now, all of them, right? Right? And they all have an agenda. And that agenda is to make you feel alienated, to make you feel powerless, to make you feel dependent on them, to make you feel divided and alone and afraid. Because the more fear they can instill in you, the more they can control you. Social media picks it up. Everybody and his brother is on there with their opinion because they've already been infected and they're divided about stuff. You can see the what is the confirmation bias. You'll see some people see, I saw this is really true, and of course there's 8 things that contradict it. So there's no real source. I hate to say this, there is no source of genuine news anymore, right? You can't get it. So you have to rely on your own intuition. So don't go there, right? If you have some family and friends, you want to share pictures of your cat or dinner, right? Great. Great. Do it. But don't scroll, don't engage, don't pay any attention to it. It's a bunch of people's opinions, and there's no truth there. My job is to turn you towards the truth. And the less and less there is of it out here, the more and more we just have to look for it here. I trust my own intuition. Right? That's my source of truth. I hear something, I can tell whether it's true or not. I can just feel it. Right? I can spot bullshit a mile away. Right? I've just gotten used to that voice, which knows the difference between a manipulation and the truth. So make your sense of peace more important than anything. That's not weakness. It's not a withdrawing from the world. You're withdrawing from lies and manipulation. You're not withdrawing from a genuine compassion towards a world that needs healing, right? But you're bringing your attention back to the place of power. That place of natural stillness, that place of peace is the place of power, right? Because it isn't influenced. It can't be manipulated. It can't be intimidated because it's absolutely still. It's so powerful. So honor that. The social media. I even heard he quit. Now he was the head of the people growing for Facebook, right? He was like one of the original guys. So he retires, multi-millionaire, right? If not a billionaire. He won't even let his kids have an account on Facebook. He thinks it's the most destructive thing that has ever been created. It completely deteriorates the fabric of a culture because it creates an artificial one, an artificial connection where there isn't one. Your imaginary friends is all it is. So stay away from it as best you can. Find the things you need and then leave it. Don't engage in the conversations that are going. They're of no use. Right? Protect that sense of peace above all else. Seek it, find it, live in it, and it will show you everything else you need. So thanks for mentioning that, Yash. Tesquatu. If someone is seeking answers of questions, trying hard in every way, but nothing is helping really long time, how is it related to karma? Karma is our habitual energy that will keep us looking for answers in places where there aren't any. Namaste to you too. Karma is just habitual energy. And habitual energy can, we see it as conditioning, we see it manifest in habits. And on a very deep level, it can go lifetime to lifetime to lifetime. That's all. It's not magic, right? It only seems magic because when we're in this lifetime, we're so identified, we think, this is it. This is the only life there is. This is who I am. But it's not true. It's not. This is who you are now. This is how you're appearing now. But I mean, look, I'm nothing like what I was when I was 15 years old. Nothing, right? So even in the course of lifetime, there's this constant transformation going on. At death, a new body appears. It's just picking up where it left off. It's no big deal, really. So let's focus though on this moment right now, rather than is it karma that has stalled me getting answers? And the answer is no, right? You simply, where are you looking for the answers? That would be the question I would put to you, right? You're seeking answers. Do you have some preconceived idea of what the answer should be? Or some experience you should have? Should it be some kind of spiritual bliss? Should it be some kind of, ecstatic experience? Should it become some definitive aha moment? Should you see colors and lights and angels, right? If there's any expectation, right, or preconceived notion of what an answer should be, the answer could come and you'll dismiss it because it doesn't fit within the box. Want an answer? Hold the question in utter space. Take a question to that place of stillness and just put the question there. You could envision yourself laying this question on the altar of truth and just kind of let go of it. Let go of any ideas as to what it might be. Because sometimes what has to happen, Tesqual, is when a question happens, the answer to the question we're not ready to receive yet. So what has to happen first is things have to happen to begin to mold you, to mold consciousness and the mind and our way of seeing things, so that suddenly when the answer comes, you can see it. Ah, there it is. Oops, other side. My wild hairs on my eyebrows. So that you will recognize it when it's there. Otherwise, you won't. Right? It can go right by you. So turn it into a sacred quest, that you're not going to find it, that it's a gift. And if it's really important and you lay that question up there, one of two things will happen. One of three things. It'll immediately come. The question will disappear and it won't matter anymore. Or you will be transformed in some way that suddenly the question will simply be obvious. Now, if there is a specific question you have, you can bring it up. and we can look at it. Truth loops. May this hello feed your spirit and bring a ray of joy into your beautiful heart, dear friend. Well, thank you very much. Beautiful. Tatiana, that's why I don't watch TV for news. I got informed about anything important. Thank you for your comment about the news. You're welcome. You're very welcome. Jay, thank you, G. I think there isn't an acceptance of what happens. Right. Notice that. That's the problem, right? The mind gets this idea that it thinks it knows what's supposed to happen. How absurd. What's happening is what's supposed to happen. How do I know that's what's supposed to happen? Because it's happening. Nisargadatta put it beautifully. Somebody asked him what destiny was. He said, destiny is what happens. It is impossible for us to determine why things are going the way they are. Impossible. They just are. Why are things happening now the way they are? Because the universe is what it is. So let all of that go. And instead of trying to, the why, just be in the river. Flow with the river. Be a light floating in the river, right? That isn't concerned where the river is going, but is very intelligently responding, right? Because you're part of the river. Remember in the meditation, I mentioned, maybe you noticed that I said this, that the body, the emotions, and the thoughts are all just different kinds of flavors, different kinds of vibrations of the same thing, and that this body is appearing in a field of energy and is simply a moment in that field of energy, but also is the rest of the world, and me and these trees and the ground, all of it. And in the meditation, you can begin to feel that it's only our minds that say this body belongs to me, and it, I end here. You can actually stretch your senses out and feel the entire energy field, and you see that it's one field. It is not a thing. The divisions are arbitrary. The division between you and me, or me and this tree, is as made up as the borders of countries. Go look, you can't find a border. They're completely creations of the mind. So is the boundary between you and other. All right, I'm going to leave it like that. Thank you for this meditation and satsang as well. You're welcome, Ava. Ravi, this may be a rookie question. When doing EFT, for how long should one tap on a specific issue? No, it's not a rookie question. It's a good question. It's one you should come back to often. If you do EFT the way I do, there's really a cycle of 3 things that I go to. Don't overdo it, right? Tap on it for a while and then let it go, right? Because sometimes it takes a while for the energy to do what it needs to do, right? And if the issue's still bothering you on another day, okay, do it again, right? It's easy to bring it up, whatever the issue is, just bring it to mind. And if there's a charge to it, there's more to do. But, don't do it hour after hour. Don't turn it into that kind of thing. You don't need that. Trust the whole mechanism. Trust the process. That it is bringing it about at exactly the right pace, right? Let's face it, we can only absorb so much transformation at a time, right? And the body knows better than we do as to what the right rate of transformation is as it begins to let go things. Just remember, you just keep creating the safe space. That's what EFT, at least the way I teach EFT, that's what it's about. It's about creating a safe inner space, and then the energy system that is the body will do the rest. But it always conforms itself to the environment. So your job isn't to try to bring about a change. Your job is to simply create an environment in which change can safely happen. That's probably the difference in my approach to others. So I don't know if you've ever seen my videos on it, Robbie, but if not, check them out, because I do it. That's my approach. And thanks for the question, John. Amazing, GP. Great answers. Also love your political takes. You should go for president. I am the world's worst administrator. I would do a worse job than the guy we have now. I mean, I wouldn't be creating division and, purposely, stimulating, horrible sentiments in people. But I'm a horrible administrator. I'm incompetent. I'm incompetent when it comes to actually running business and stuff like that. So sometimes I'm not sure if Sadhguru is enlightened or not, but he seems to be doing great things. I don't know either. He's definitely mystical. He's definitely close. He definitely gets it, and he is doing amazing things. Right? I mean, his foundation is just unbelievable. The schools and water treatment plants, and just unbelievable what he's done. He's definitely a saint. I don't know if he's a sage, but yeah. I said, sir, can you give us a brief about your life story? I'm someone in my early 20s and it would provide a motivation for me pursuing a spiritual life, because it's hard considering the outer society. Amen to that. Amen to that. Oh my goodness. I don't have time to really right now. I'm already well over what I normally allot for this. although it's been really nice being with you all, as always. Um, I do have it on, there are several radio interviews, and if anybody knows of an interview or a video where I did talk about that very first, very deep spiritual experience that changed me forever. It's also part of level 2 of Inner Reconciliation. I tell the story. I've told it on radio interviews and things like that. It takes a while to tell, so I'm not going to be able to tell it now. But hang around. Yeah, you'll hear about it. And I was 19, so don't worry about it. You're fine. You're in good shape. And believe me, the very fact that you're asking me that question indicates to me you're already on the way. The fact that you look at the outer society and are kind of taken aback by it also indicates that you already have that kind of intelligent sensibility. So you're already on the way, oh brother. Yeah. Cool, Jeet. Hello. Hi, GP. Thank you. And always lovely to hear you again. Even when I haven't experienced some of the things you share, I can feel them to be true. How is that? Because that's the actual experience. It's not an external experience. It's not something ecstatic or overwhelming. It's very quiet. It is that sense of inner knowing. It's just going to deepen. You keep going more and more inward, more and more within. And you find you just know. How do you just know? Right? There's no explanation for that. There's no cause and effect there. You just know. Why? Because you know the truth because you are the truth. The truth is simply recognizing itself. You know, when you look in a mirror, you don't have to go, right? Who is that? You don't have to turn on the mirror, right? You don't have to read the manual to get the mirror. You look, it's instantaneous. Why? It's you. You always recognize yourself. Truth recognizes the truth. Truth recognizes the lie. Awareness recognizes awareness. What else could? Consciousness recognizes consciousness. What else could? Right? It's so simple. It's what you are. Truth isn't what you know. It's what you are. Oh, I wish I could just pull your heads off and shove this in. Saranda, hello. When I'm aware of what's happening, there's more clarity. In other words, the attention is back in the essence. Yeah, beautiful. Exactly. Exactly. Yes. The more aware you are of yourself, right, the more aware you are of everything else, because you are the background of all things. When you lose touch with that sense of yourself, you can't really lose it because it is what you are. But when the mind and attention gets completely filled with what's happening out here, the sense is getting lost in that, and you'll feel that tumult and instability as if it was yourself. It's not. That is the glorious realization. It's not. Robbie says, okay, so I should be more truing of the process when doing FT and not turning it into a chore. Thank you. Yeah, use it as a part of your life. What happens is, even with EFT, we get so focused on fixing something, right, that we're not here. Our mind's here. You know, the Holy Grail. I'm reaching for the carrot. And that's the wrong energy. Even EFT can't overcome that, right? Come here. Be in this. What are you feeling right now? It's all you have to worry about, because that's all you're feeling. You have to realize about what you're going to be feeling. Oh my God, I'm going to be feeling terrible. Saranda says, this is actually my wife's account, by the way. Good. This is Jay. Oh, Jay, you're on your. I saw the thing. I figured it was your wife. Oh, no, I'm disappointed. I'm speaking to you twice. Now I'm not going to know who you are, or unless you're multiple personality and you think you are your wife. Truth loops. Be a light floating in the river. Beautiful words. Thanks. Do a more trusting process. Thank you. I will give your methods on your site and get back to you. Great. Please do. Yeah. It's just a different approach that slows the whole thing down. Sarah says, will we see you tomorrow? Yes, you will. Although I'm almost doing a full satsang now. Yes, there'll be satsang. And I'll be sending out an email today. I'm going to start doing satsangs an hour earlier. I'm just finding for the people in Europe that it's easier on them, right? Because some people are listening at like 11 o'clock at night. So I'm going to try to make it a little bit easier. And actually, the majority of people who listen to me are in Europe. So also, I'll be an email going out about a 3-day online retreat I'm doing, sponsored by the Krishnamurti Center of Canada, Education Center of Canada. I did one live there, but obviously there's no live events going on right now. There was too many people there. It was more than the 6 that were allowable, although the rules in Canada are different. So we're going to be doing it online instead. I'll be doing, I think, a morning session and afternoon session to get everybody. It'll be 3 days, very, very reasonably priced. It's $100. 50 goes to me, 50 goes to them for 3 days, and it's all focused on self-inquiry. That's the name of it. It's a self-inquiry retreat. So I will be sending out emails to everyone. If I don't have your email, you're listening to this, please just send an email to me at support@gpwalsh.com so I can get you on the list to let you know when that's happening. 3 days of inquiry. It's very reasonable, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So, all right, guys, I will see you all tomorrow, an hour earlier. Thank you for joining me. I love this. Namaste.